Welcome everyone to meeting number 2. This is February 22, 2021. It's the council meeting. I'm just going to read a couple notes here prior to proceeding. Due to the effort to contain the spread of COVID-19 and to protect all individuals and to comply with the province's state of emergency, the council chambers will not be open to the public to attend council meetings until further notice. As noted on tonight's agenda, if members of the public had any comments, they could provide them by email to the clerk by 4:30 today. Please note that any email comments submitted will be considered as public information read into the public record and later in the agenda. As a reminder that members of the public can attend this evening's council meeting virtually. This was noted on this evening's agenda and could be done by contacting the clerk by email prior to 4:30 today to request a Zoom meeting invitation to the meeting. And this meeting is being audio and video recorded and will be posted on the township's website within 48 hours. I'm going to ask us to stand to sing "O Canada," and then we're going to go to the opening petition by Councillor Jonker. O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, a true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
We gather together here today, intent on doing good work. We seek to represent fairly and well those who have given us this task. May our efforts be blessed with insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. We seek to serve with respect for all. May our personal faith give us strength to act honestly and well in all matters before us.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillors, are there any changes in orders of items on the agenda? I see none, Madam Clerk. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary or conflict of interest? And again, Madam Clerk, I see no conflicts of interest. Are there anyone in the Zoom meeting that is indicating they wish to provide any comments? Ms. Keith?
Seeing none, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And Madam Clerk, were there any members of the public that had emailed comments prior to 4:30 today with respect to an item on the agenda?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. This evening, we have one appointment. And so at this time, I'd like to thank Matt Miller. He's the principal of Grimsby Secondary School, and he'll be doing a presentation, PowerPoint presentation regarding the features, amenities, and the programs of the new West Niagara Secondary School, and introduce the Friends of the Arts in West Niagara, and a proposal to fundraise for a 750-seat theater as part of the new school. So at this time, I'm going to go to Matt Miller. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, Mayor Bylsma. Thanks, Council, for having Meredith and I here tonight. We really want to do a couple of things, most importantly, and one is to establish a good connection with your council and with the Township of West Lincoln. We know that some of our best kids come from your area. 2 out of the last 3 Excellence in Education winners at Grimsby Secondary School have been from the Township of West Lincoln, and that has not escaped our notice. So we want to make sure that we have that connection, that you feel comfortable coming to us when you have questions or you want to talk about West Niagara Secondary School or Grimsby Secondary School in the short term. And we also want to make sure that you know about the great opportunities for student learning that this school is going to offer the children of the Township of West Lincoln. We think that's really exciting, and we hope that you'll be excited like we are about it. Am I able to share my screen at this point? I think so.
Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
going to start from the beginning. So I have some slides just to keep Meredith and I on track. I'm going to talk a little bit about the school and its amenities, and my colleague Meredith Short, who's a English and drama teacher at Grimsby Secondary, formerly at South Lincoln High School, will share some of her experiences with the great students of West Lincoln and talk about the theater a little bit. So you can see from our first slide here that we're excited to open West Niagara Secondary School in September of 2022. You can see a couple of things on the screen that we'll talk about in just a minute. The crest of the new school of West Niagara Secondary School on the left, and the athletic logo of the West Niagara Secondary School Wolfpack on the right. So a little bit of background. Fall of 2019, the community engaged in a school naming process. Interestingly, we had students and community members from all three towns that send students to the new school, and the students were actually the ones who carried the bulk of the vote on that committee. So the committee came up with the top three number of names and came up with West Niagara Secondary School as a name that includes all three towns, which I think is a really important aspect to that name. December 2022, the Ministry of Education provided approval to proceed with the build. So that's just this past December 23rd. And September 2022, we'll be opening our doors to approximately 1,500 students. The branding that you see there is quite exciting. You can see a crest and you can see the Wolfpack logo. The crest is sort of a modern shield. We decided with a modern school, we didn't want to go with some of the historical aspects of a shield with the oil lamp and sheaf of wheat. We wanted a modern crest to reflect a modern school. And the Wolfpack, I want to make particular note of, has three wolves. And the symbolic nature of those three wolves is that we know we get students from three towns. And so having three wolves and a collective mascot for our sports teams symbolizes our attitude that we value all three towns and that we know that students from all three towns will be working together and competing together and winning together at our new school. And so you can also see the primary color for athletics will be the Carolina blue, the light blue, which sets us apart among schools in the peninsula. The new building is going to feature modern state-of-the-art school with bright glassy classrooms and lots of natural sunlight. We're going to have a synthetic turf field with an 8-lane rubberized track, 2 double gyms, and a fitness center, a greenhouse, which is critical for students coming from all three towns where both horticulture and agriculture are important industries. And we want to make sure that we have the programming that our students can really benefit from in that respect. You also see below it that we're going to have all the tech shops that you can possibly imagine, all outfitted with modern and industrial quality equipment, including transportation or auto shop, manufacturing, welding, construction, which is what we would call wood shop back people my age and older, cosmetology, hospitality. And I want to make a particular note about hospitality. Our cafeteria is going to be student run. So the hospitality teacher, the program currently is at Beamsville. He used to be the head chef at Casino Niagara. He is a very skilled teacher and a very skilled chef. And I think, the kids will gain experience and the rest of us might gain some weight because it's a really great program and they're going to feed us every day at lunch. We'll also have a bake shop and a cafe where students are able to have a snack and a drink before or after school, or at lunch or on breaks. You'll also see computer tech, design tech, and healthcare on a 20-acre property. In terms of programming, what the easiest way to state it is, we're going to have every program currently offered at Grimsby Secondary School, as well as every program currently offered at Beamsville, and likely add more. And an example of that is when Greater Fort Erie Secondary School opened, there were 19 programs offered at the new school that were not offered at either of the previous schools. So through reaching out to students for their suggestions, we're able to come up with programs that maybe we don't have the students to offer right now, but when we are at the new school, we will have those students and we will be able to offer even more. You can see on that slide there that the new school will have specialized school to community and specialized school to work programs that are currently at Beamsville District Secondary, French Immersion, which is currently at Grimsby, as well as the specialist high skills majors programs listed there. And those programs are sort of new on the education scene in about the last decade. And they consist of a package of courses aimed at the particular topic, as well as work experience and specialized skills in the community. So they're really great programs, and you can see we're going to offer a large number of them. Athletics, you'll see the entire slate of athletics offered there, and just like anything else, should students want to play a sport that isn't there, and we have the students and we have the coach, we'll be able to offer those sports. So it's still quite an extensive list of sports, and you'll see there that wrestling is not listed, but it will be there. We have been able to hire a coach who is currently on leave because she's training for the Olympics in wrestling. And so when she returns, we're looking forward to her starting up that particular program. And, you know, something like lacrosse, where we have offered it over the years. We didn't have the athletes for it last year, but if we do have them, we'll be very happy to offer that. The next slide there is extracurriculars, and you could see that there's a very diverse set of extracurriculars that we look to offer at the new school. And much like sports, if there's something that students want to do, but we're not currently offering it, it's really just a matter of that student choice, as well as a staff advisor, which is easy to come up with. So next step, tenders are out and the start of construction will happen this spring. We're going to continue to provide ongoing updates to DSBN families, as well as student input opportunities for current and future students. And we're also going to start fundraising for a proposed theater that I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Meredith Short to talk about.
Hi, everyone. Good evening, Mayor Bylsma and West Lincoln Town Council. My name is Meredith Short, and I'm currently one of the drama teachers at Grimsby Secondary. For 12 wonderful years, I taught drama at South Lincoln High School right there in Smithville. And believe me, no one was sadder to see South Lincoln close than I was. Those 12 years will forever be etched in my heart as some of the best years of my career. I loved that place. Going to work never felt like work. Every day I arrived in my classroom ready to engage with some of the most thoughtful, hardworking, funny, creative students I've had the pleasure of teaching. My first year at Grimsby, I will admit, was tough. I spent lots of it mourning what I thought I had lost. However, as the year went on, I realized that those same hardworking, thoughtful, creative, funny students were still right there in front of me, and I became re-energized and re-engaged in my work. I began to realize how important drama is to these kids, and in fact, to all kids who take it up. It's those same kids who bring me before you today. As we look ahead to a new high school, I can't tell you how important and meaningful it would be for everyone involved to have a state-of-the-art 750-seat theater there. Well, actually, I could tell you, I've had years of experience in collegiate and professional theater, and the evidence of the positive impact of the arts on students is as impressive as it is ubiquitous. But that would be coming from me, the teacher. I think it's much more impactful to hear it from them, the students. Last week, I asked a number of students, past and present, to send me their thoughts on why they thought theater production was important to them. I sent out twice as many emails as I thought I would get back, but the response was both overwhelming and humbling. Every single student replied. Some wrote short quotes, some wrote formal letters, some are working as general laborers and in contract jobs, while others are lawyers, graphic designers, and university students. Some are on full scholarships in the US, and some are in grade 9, having just finished their first year of drama at GSS. But they all use the same words to describe their experience. Phrases like life-changing, a sense of family, I felt so I could be my authentic self. I learned skills that I apply to my work today. I had the ability to be creative, and I wouldn't be who I am if I hadn't participated in these drama productions come up over and over again, regardless of the background, interest, or lifestyle of the student. Why? Well, because working together on a show, working collaboratively on something bigger than themselves made them feel included, cared for, and valued in the most authentic and profound ways. You'll notice that not one of them became an actor, but they all have become successful, productive members of society, equipped with the skills they learned in the theater. I hope that you read their words, and I hope that you see that the words of ordinary kids, all from West Lincoln, move you to support this incredible, once-in-a-lifetime build. The kids from here, from West Lincoln, need it. Being involved in plays and productions has made an incredible impact on them that will last forever. A new theater would allow for even more students to be involved on an even grander scale. We would be able to involve students from multiple disciplines, not just the arts. Putting on a big show means kids who are in visual art, music, construction, tech design, communication technology, and business would all have a significant role to play. A big show in a big theater would have an even bigger impact on the school community. And the theater would be rentable for that community. Imagine not having to drive, like I did, to Hamilton or St. Catharines or Welland to watch my daughter's dance recital, or to go that far to see a tribute band. With a theater 12 minutes from downtown Smithville, the possibilities truly are endless. For so many reasons, this theater would be a benefit to the West Lincoln community. But most importantly, the support of this town council for this new theater would go a long way towards ensuring that students from West Lincoln will continue to have life-changing, life-affirming, lifelong learning experiences. On behalf of all the drama students that I've taught from that wonderful little place, past and present, I can't thank you enough in advance for your support. They really do appreciate it more than you know.
Thanks, Meredith. The only other thing I wanted to share with you, Council, was our social media. We are constantly posting new things and aspects of the building that we're particularly excited or proud about. You can see there's a Twitter, Instagram, as well as a website listed there, which, you know, we hope to show you all the important stuff. But we really appreciate you having us here, making the time to listen to us. And we really want to make sure that that connection is there so that moving forward, not only the township, but everybody in West Lincoln feels as connected to the school as possible. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Miller and Ms. Short. Really appreciate you reaching out and giving us an update on the school. Of course, you're absolutely right. We do miss our high school and you know, the connection that we had here in the municipality for it, and yet we also understand that you know, the DSPN is doing what is right and proper and in the best interest of the students. So I'm going to open it up to the other counselors. If you have any questions for clarity or something that's piquing your interest, and then once we're done with this questions from the counselors, then we'll move to a motion that I believe Councillor Bradrick has. So are there any questions from counselors? Councillor, I'm going to go to Councillor Riley, then Councillor Witteveen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess first, I just wanted to thank Matt and Meredith there for your presentation and your explanation there and all the materials that you provided as well. I did get a chance to look at that 360 view of Fort Erie just to kind of get a flavor of what's going to possibly look like in Grimsby there. And so, you know, I definitely appreciate that. I certainly have no problem supporting I guess in principle, the fundraising that is being requested as far as trying to find a way to support this initiative. I just want clarification, if at all possible, Mr. Mayor, and I don't know if I should be asking you or the clerk, but under the recommendation section 2, it talks about requesting Township Council to consider providing financial support. And I don't necessarily think they're requesting actual money from the township, but more or less aiding in getting the word out there or helping in the fundraising component. So I just want clarity on that, because the one thing I want to be very clear is I'm at least looking at it from the tax-based purpose. I'm not interested at all in putting any financial hardship onto the community to support this directly from them. I think this should all be done through community partners. So if somebody could clarify that wording, I would appreciate that.
I don't have an answer to that, but I'm going to go to Madam CAO. Is there or is Donna, what's the plan?
Thank you for the question. I don't actually think that there's a specific plan. This is the first ask that we've had from the school, and this motion was put in place specifically for council's consideration, and it could be what Councillor Riley has raised, that we would be support. But if there was a desire to put it on the budget, then that would have to be something that would be added to the second point.
Okay, so through Mr. Mayor, maybe to Matt or Meredith there, maybe they could just verify the request itself, and maybe what is intended, or what the intentions are behind the phrasing of consider providing financial support. Financial support is really the key phrase here that I want to understand before making a decision one way or another. So maybe through
Sure.
Mr. Mayor to the principal.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, we're interested in all possible forms of support. Our primary purpose is to speak to you about what's happening, so that you know all the opportunities that this school is going to bring. As we've said in the other two townships we've talked to, certainly the board would be open to further conversation about partnerships or other forms of support if that was the council's wish. But our primary purpose here tonight is to communicate and to share that information.
Okay, and I guess so lastly, Mr. Mayor, I think, I don't know if this would be the appropriate time to talk about this, since this resolution isn't on the table yet, so I'll maybe hold that time until that gets to that point, so thank you.
Okay, yeah, so at this point, we're just asking the presenter some questions for clarity. Councillor Witteveen, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Matt and Meredith, thank you for the presentation. Definitely exciting to hear where you are in the process. My question is, I guess, maybe directed to Matt. So with your fundraising, because I've been talking with Doug, our trustee, at the same time, have you set up a committee to kind of kick off your fundraising in the community? And so that would be my first question. And my second question is, are you approaching like citizens and businesses as maybe the first line that you're striking to try to I guess generate that excitement with inside the community and see whether you may reach your goal in that. So just if you could answer those two questions, that'd be great.
Sure. Thank you very much for the question. We do have a committee, the Friends of the Arts in West Niagara. We've met a number of times, and we're just finalizing some plans to roll out our community fundraising initiative. Actually, Wednesday evening is our next meeting, and we hope at the end of that to have a pretty comprehensive plan. We've got our campaign materials ready, and we're ready to roll it out to people. At the same time, we're also planning some event in terms of things that are going to get the community excited about what this can bring and to spread awareness for it. And we're going to talk about that Wednesday night as well. So it is, time is of the essence. Now we want to be ready when the foundation pours. And so we can't really do one thing at a time. We're sort of juggling the community aspect, the municipal aspect, and the event part of things all at one time.
Okay, thanks for that response, Matt.
Okay, I have Councillor Trombetta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if Councillor Rayner jumped in there to speak before me. Did he? I heard his voice, but I wasn't sure if.
I'll go to him
Oh,
next. Okay,
next.
go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Miller and Mr. Short. It was really informative. I kind of agree with Councillor Riley there. Like, I would be supporting this in principle. As financial, again, that have to be put to budget. The only reason why I have some financial, not to support it financially, but what's going to cause a little bit of problem for me if I do support it financially is that last year or the year before, we built our recreation center, and there was a big push in our community to build an amphitheater outside. And we were torn as a community to build that amphitheater. It was a big demand from our constituents, and due to funding, we didn't support it because we didn't have the funds at the time. So I'm sort of torn because our residents came to us asking us to support a sort of an outdoor theater, and now I'm on the fence to give financial support for a 750 seat theater. So I'm a little bit in between. Like I said, I will support in principle. I don't have an issue. I know you guys are going around from municipality to municipality to get support, but I will fully support in principle for this motion this evening. And hopefully, the kicking of the fundraising starts off for you guys. And, I was a part of it in help with the St. Martin School when it was getting built. And, there's a lot of business community that came out to support that school as well. So anything I can do to get the name out there to say that you guys are fundraising, I will be fully in support with that. So thank you for your presentation.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ganan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thought you were going to Councillor Rayner, so I wasn't unmuted. I'd like to thank both of you too for coming in and presenting. I'd also like to thank you for the additional information that you sent over the weekend. I did take time to also view the theater in Fort Erie, and I've looked up that school a little bit on the website. I would like to point out in terms of Meredith's presentation, though, I recognize many of those names of those students, having formerly taught also many of them when they were CASTER students. It's good to see how successful they are, but I want to also say to her that part of the success of her receiving so many feedback pieces of information, whether they be large or small, is certainly attributable to her and the fact that she was a very inspirational teacher while she was here, and those kids would be eager to support her. She provided a great many wonderful programs in very poor situations in terms of theaters, and so I can see that they would all be thinking how supportive that would be. I have some concerns as well about the financial aspects of it, just because we are right now committed to the hospital. Also looking at McNally House, looking at a major fundraising event. We have quite a few things ongoing right now. So the fact that you are looking for some support, but you are also looking to be doing things in the community, some kind of an event, some kind of a reach out. I also recognize the value of the arts and would be very helpful and would certainly help with any of those fundraisers, if you're going to do something in West Lincoln. I support to that point. I'm glad that you're not full out asking us tonight for a financial contribution, because I'm afraid with our budget coming up next week that you would not be successful, although I'm hearing around the table that many are interested in seeing the project go forward. I guess I'd like to say, finally, I really do appreciate the fact that there was consideration given to those former South Lincoln students, to the West Lincoln students who are joining a school that's a long way from their home. And the fact that in terms of even the mascot and pulling that together, you're really considering those kids. I must say, as a resident of West Lincoln, I'm very appreciative of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Are there any other councillors wishing to speak? Councillor Rayner. Yes. Sorry about that. I didn't know if you were deferring there for a second, but go ahead.
No, I'm fine. Thank you. Again, thank you, Mr. Miller and Ms. Short, for your presentation. Question to Mr. Miller. Can you explain the design of the crest again? School crest?
Sure. So without bringing it back up on the screen, we sort of balanced the priorities of having a crest that worked from an aesthetic point of view, and trying to nod to our the three schools who added students together to create this new school, as well as the navy and the light blue. So the yellow being one of the colors at South and at Beamsville, and the red being one of the colors at Grimsby.
Okay, I thought I heard you use the word Wolfpack. Did you use that for the three?
We did that. Yes, that's the team names. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to bring it up because of, and please take this in the right context, but it's the world, especially the country we live in right now. Anything you say almost is used against you. It's taken the wrong way. It can be furred. It can be do anything. I'm a Second World War fanatic, especially naval. Been to Pearl Harbor many, many, many times. Been on the ships. And Admiral Karl Donitz of the German Navy developed a submarine warfare called Wolfpack tactics. And there are people out there that may take that the wrong way when you use the word Wolfpack. It wasn't used by the Allies. It was used by the Axis power. And almost 6,000 Allied ships were sunk by Wolfpack. So I don't know, with Canada being so darn sensitive as it is today, with anything you say can and will be taken the wrong way and used against you, if using the word Wolfpack would be an appropriate terminology based environment that we live in this country right now.
Well, yeah, thank you for that.
Just a word of advice, because Wolfpack is, in the Second World War, was evil, and people tend to stay away from it.
Sure. No, I appreciate that. We are we're coming at it from a collective point of view and wanting to make sure that it's people working together. North
Well,
Carolina.
I know what you mean by it. Unfortunately, the term was used before in a very wrong way. And in this country, they look for things to stir up and to say, well, what are you trying to be neo-Nazi now or something? I don't want you to get into that pickle, but you know, you do have a school with a history department. Talk to your history teachers. They will tell you that terminology and where it came from. And I just don't know if you really want to use it in the situation that we live in this country at this time.
Okay,
Noted. Thank you.
thank you,
Thank you.
Councilor Rayner. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, then Councilor Jonker, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, sorry, just had to unmute there. But yeah, I definitely appreciate the presentation and the work that goes into building the school and getting it set up is a big task. Educating children is a very important task, and really excited to see this school moving forward. But I will agree with the other counselors on the comment of financial support. Definitely, I don't know what we can do as the township, but I know maybe on our website, share things, definitely communicate wherever we can with our constituents, and, you know, via whatever we can to help promote this idea. I think I would be able to support, but just in the fact that we have a lot of private schools, you know, there's going to be some people that go, well, why is my taxes going to pay that extra and that? So in that there, I definitely would, the financial support thing will be that for me needs to be taken out as well. But other than that, it's a beautiful step forward, and looking forward to seeing that building go up there, and the children from our area going to a school that they were meant to go to, right? Instead of being shipped here and there, get them all back together, I think would be an important and then a healthy step for our community. So looking forward to it, and definitely will be able to, would like to help wherever we can, but the financial thing will be something I cannot support. But thanks for the presentation. Exciting to see it moving forward.
Thanks very much.
Okay, so with that, we've all spoken to Councilor Bradrick. You want to weigh in yet?
Sure, why not? Thank you very much, Matt and Meredith, for your presentation. I certainly won't continue the conversation about the financial support. I think the other councillors have brought it forward to you quite eloquently. I have a few children that were graduates of South Lincoln. Certainly loved the school, loved the small town feel of the school. But also there was limitations to that, you know, with their education. There wasn't as many clubs, there wasn't as many sports that they could join into. So, you know, excited to see the community being able to have those opportunities for their children, being in a bigger school venue, so to speak. So I think that's exciting, and I don't know if you have the ability to roll back the clock so I can be a high school student, because watching that 360 capture of the Fort Erie School sure got me excited about those opportunities for the kids of West Lincoln.
Thank you.
So, and then just, I just want one concluding comment from myself, and I was a graduate of BDSS. So, you know, I look forward to seeing, I hope they can retain some of the nostalgia of the three high schools as they bring them together. In particular, I just, you know, honorable mention to, there's plaques, there's a wall of fame, or a wall in Beamsville, and I'm on it, so I want to make sure that somewhere that gets memorialized. Was an inductee at the 125th anniversary of BDSS, and so I just want to make sure that, you know, those people that were commemorated on there, and one of the other colleagues on that just recently passed a couple of weeks ago, and so there's a connection to these three schools as they come into the one, there's got to be some touchstones that they can basically knit their hearts to the new school. So with that, I thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Miller and Ms. Short, and we will be moving on. So thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Okay, so at this time we have a motion by Councillor Bradrick. I'm going to let her read that out, and then we'll start up another discussion.
Great. Let me know if my audio fades out, and I'll take my video off. I have a little bit of an unstable internet connection. So moved by myself, Councillor Shelley Bradrick, that the presentation made by Matt Miller, new principal of West Niagara High School, currently principal for Grimsby Secondary School, at the February 22nd, 2021 council meeting with respect to the features, amenities, and programs of the new school, an introduction of the fundraising group being the Friends of the Arts in West Niagara, that is being established to raise community funding for the construction of a 750-seat theater in the new school build be received, and that the request made by Principal Miller for Township Council to consider providing financial support towards the construction of the 750-seat theater be received, and
Okay, can I get a seconder for that? Councillor Rayner, thank you very much. Any discussion or, okay, Council, I'm going to go to Councillor Riley, then I'll go to Council. You know what? I'm going to go to Councillor Rayner first since he seconded. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like this to be received only.
Okay.
All right.
All right. To be so then as received only. Councillor Riley.
So we might want to do this in two separate things. So I don't mind supporting the in principle for them to do fundraising efforts. And I guess maybe if I can explain, there might be a better way of phrasing this, but I think we could probably allow, and I don't know what this looks like, but when, you know, and down the road, if the community center opens up, maybe they might want to use it for like an information night. And so maybe that could be our contribution in some capacity. So I don't mind showing an endorsement. I think is important, because I think that's even what I've noticed between Lincoln and Grimsby is that they've endorsed it and they haven't commit to it financially. So I think it'd be smart to kind of be aligned with an endorsement of the theater, so that, you know, whatever grants or provincial funding that they apply for or sponsorships they go for, it looks like it's being strongly supported between all three municipalities. So I don't know if that needs to come in as a friendly amendment or maybe voted on separately. I leave that to you to decide, but I would definitely be in favor of just changing the wording to, I had something written here, but support in principle with fundraising efforts of whatever that looks like.
Okay, so I'm just going to place a little bookmark on your comment there and see if there are any others who have something that they would like to say at this point. The only question that I would ask of the clerk, there's nothing like if we receive it this night, there's nothing that would prohibit us from resurrecting some kind of plan, perhaps as the Friends of the Arts in West Niagara comes together, maybe with a program. We could revisit this without actually being a reconsideration. This is just for information. We can come back to this at any time. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. So this doesn't bind us to some kind of, this is not a no in any way, shape, or form. And I
No.
think our,
That's right. Especially if you say be received, if you want to say be received in principle for
Yeah.
now, or just to be received. Yes, we can revisit that at a later time.
I'm going to go to Councillor Jonker, then I'm going to recognize Councillor Rayner for the second time. Go ahead, Councillor Jonker.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Councillor Riley there, that if we can somehow in this motion just say we support it in principle and receive it for information. I think that still keeps us in the safe, right, when it comes to the financial part, but lets them know that I would like that one. I kind of like what he's trying to go towards there.
Well, since I have two of you, so I'm going to have, I'm just going to basically put some words in Councillor Riley's mouth, if he'll let me, and just say, be received and supported in principle. If Councillor Jonker would be amenable to second that, then we have an amendment on here. Any comments or questions? Because then I would like to deal with this because we have the dots, it's totally legitimate that we do this. So if the original mover was Councillor Bradrick and the seconder was Councillor Rayner, are you okay with that friendly amendment, Councillor Rayner?
The reason I said only was because it specifically stated providing financial support.
Right.
So we directly answered that, and it was clear by all members of council that that's not the direction, but it doesn't mean we don't want to help them in some way, shape, or form. But that's not what the statement said. The statement specifically said financial support. So that's why I said receives. So to me, it still leaves it open-ended, but commonly what you do in a situation like that is you answer the question or the statement to which was directed. And directed said financial support. We agreed that's not the direction we want to go. That's why you normally just receive it. If you want to take it from there afterwards, like you said, that's still an option.
Okay.
But we have to answer number 2.
Okay. So at this time, I'm gonna go through the whole process of approving the amendment. Then we'll go back to the main motion. So right before us, we basically have the words "and supported in principle" as an amendment. Any comments on just that phrase? Then I'm going to call the question on adding this phrase "and supported in principle." All those in favor?
Hold it, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Sorry, did I have a mover and a seconder for the?
Yes, Councillor Riley moved it. Councillor Jonker seconded.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't hear that.
No problem, no problem. And so just on that I just want to take up a vote at this time on that, okay, I'm going to go ahead with the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. So it will say be received and supported in principle. It's now been amended. The original mover is Councillor Bradrick and the seconder is Councillor Rayner. Any discussions on the whole motion now? Councillor, you're not giving me a real clear sign there, Councillor. Okay, Councillor Rayner, there, that looked a little bit more firm. There we go.
Okay, the thing was I second to be received only.
Yeah.
And you kind of bypassed it with the support in principle. I don't have a problem with the support in principle, but to me, we haven't dealt with the first one, which was seconded to say received only.
I know.
You kind of skipped it. So
well, what I ended up
thought
doing is, since I didn't have your approval as a seconder, as a friendly to the main motion, I decided to go through the whole extra step of taking up a vote as an amendment. It has passed as an amendment. So the support of council is to approve that amendment. At this point, just because you seconded it doesn't compel you to vote in favor of something if you principally disagree with it or not. That's something that you have to discuss. I'm not going to get into that, but in terms of logistics, I did go the extra step of getting a vote on the amendment. So now we have the motion as a whole. Any comments or questions to the motion as a whole? Councillor Riley.
So, Mr. Mayor, so now this brings me back to maybe what I was asking about before, is where we can maybe tweak the providing financial support phrase, or we take number 2 out altogether. So I think based on what I'm hearing here, that support in principle would follow either after 1 or we redefine number 2. Is that kind of what I'm understanding, so that there's no...
Well, at the end of the day, the way I read it is to consider providing financial support towards the construction. So we're not bound or beholden to anything by passing or approving this amendment as I read it, but if somebody has a different interpretation, I see that word consider in there, the end of this first line of the second approval. And I think that gives us all the flexibility that we need. But again, that's how I'm reading this. Councillor Ganan?
I would, am I on? I think I am.
You are on, yeah.
I would just do the same thing. You could either, after the first "and," which was part of number 1, supported in principle, and you could just stop after received in the second portion of that, if people are concerned about the fact that, but your explanation of the consider is also very accurate in my mind, that it could be received and supported in principle for the whole thing. It does not commit us to doing anything, but it does show that we are endorsing. I liked Councillor Riley's word when he said endorsing it in the first place, because yes, we would like to see that go forward. Yes, we would like to see them be successful, but we don't know at this point in time if any contribution could be made.
Okay, so at this point, I have an amended motion as a whole, and it just basically has the and supported in principle added to the number 2. That's what I have. That's what we have before us. So that's where the discussion is. Let's, we have no further on that. I'm going to take up the vote on the whole motion that was amended by adding the 3 words at the end. Any last comments or questions on that? Councillor Riley.
So just again, how this is probably going to like be presented to the community. That's the only reason why now I'm a little hesitant having the word financial support, because I worry that people are going to see that. And even though we say in principle, and that's still left for us to decide later, it's indicating that we would be intending to support this financially, possibly. And I don't like that possibly. I'd personally like to see that rephrased to something along the lines of, you know, the request made by Principal Mayor, you know, I guess we just take that out. And I honestly think we just remove that and leave it to in principle. Honestly, I think that's going to keep it the cleanest and simplest way. So I would move that number 2 is strike down and we leave it at the end as it's supported in principle. And that in itself is enough of an endorsement. And like you said, they could always bring back a proposal later. And that doesn't end the conversation there. I think this sends a clear message to the community that we're not committing anything at this time, and it takes out kind of that potential of misinformation or misperspective or perception. So that would I would move that to have that removed and just end it after number 1.
For clarity, then I'm going to suggest that you're removing the whole second section, except the part that we added on as an amendment. So, and just putting that at the end of 1. So the end of 1 would read, construction of a 750-seat theater in the new school build be received and supported in principle, and no number 2. That's your amendment. Okay. Can I get a seconder for that amendment? Councillor Bradrick. Okay. Any discussion on just removing 2 and putting supported in principle behind the and of clause number 1? Any comments on that? Seeing none, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the amendment? And that is carried. Now we have the motion as a whole, which is basically 1 with the addition of the words and supported in principle. Any comments or questions on that? Councillor Riley.
I'm just going to ask for a recorded vote.
Okay. And a recorded vote. Madam Clerk, please proceed.
I muted? Nope.
Good. Yep. Go ahead.
Okay, Councillor Riley, sorry.
Support.
Councillor Bradrick,
Support.
Councillor Ganan,
Support.
Councillor Jonker,
Support.
Councillor Rayner,
Or
Councillor Trombetta,
Support.
Mayor Bosma,
In favor.
unanimous 7-0, carried.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and thank you, councillors. We move on from that section, and we have regional councillors' remarks. Councillor Witteveen, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor and councillors, staff members, and members of the public. I'd like to start off this evening with saying it was great to see the level of participation at our public meeting on the Smithville Master Plan on February 11th, with many public members participating. I know this will generate a positive outcome that we will have, and then will have a lasting effect on our community. I know not everyone's happy with the growth of our small town, but hopefully this process will be a steady one of growth. We need this growth to support our commercial and industrial businesses to flourish in our community. Again, I would encourage all those to participate to continue this journey to the finish line. So on February the 16th, this month, I attended the Public Works meeting, and the highlight of our presentation was the progress on the governance study for Niagara Regional Transit. So the team at this time is about halfway through presenting to local municipalities. And as you know, there's mixed reviews on this process, and until all presentations have been made, direction will be decided at that time. So on the go front, the province has been forging onward on the long-range plans, which include the expansion into Niagara and the stations. Stops are also moving forward with this overall plan here in Niagara. And so later that day, I had the pleasure attending the Public Health Committee meeting, and we had a presentation by our friend Stephen Sues and Councillor Wayne Campbell from Niagara Falls on the request and the support that you had given on declaring an emergency on homelessness and mental health. So Niagara Region did not support this declaration of the emergency, but we presented a motion on making this a high priority through our 10-year housing, homeless, and mental health action plan, also tying in our Built for Zero campaign and our overdose prevention and education network in Niagara. And so the reason behind this is that the province allocates funds on separate program basis. And if we declare a state of emergency, we will be funded as one region with taking the full responsibilities for these programs. So also in a state of emergency, as some of you may know, the regional chair or the head of council carries the control and the administration on this. And this would be an effective way to deal with these important issues. So we need to stay the course with our programs and request funding as required and seize those opportunities for our residents. So then that same day, we also received a report from Dr. Hergy letting us know that all residents of long-term care facilities have received their second dose of vaccine. And to date, as vaccine becomes available, caregivers and others that are at high risk are receiving the vaccine. And at this time, we are not seeing any variants in Niagara. And as most of you know, the reopening will need to be slow and steady to continue the control. The following day, I attended the Planning and Economic Development meeting where we had a presentation on source water protection within Niagara. So this is by the Niagara Conservation Authority, and highlights are the plan was put into place in 2014 and an updated plan was implemented in 2018 by the Minister's Section 36, which is a 5-year plan going out to 2023. So it's going to be based on vulnerability scores, and we're given to 5 of our plants in Niagara. So the 5 plants, for those of you to know, is Grimsby, obviously, Port Colborne, Welland, DeCue Falls, and lastly, Niagara Falls Water Treatment Plant. So Niagara's in good shape by drawing water from the 2 Great Lakes, and many communities around us and rely on groundwater from for their source. So the objective is to manage any significant threats to the water source. So the committee, so that's basically moving forward. That will be what will be addressed, is looking at those significant threats and how to mitigate them. The committee also supported a resolution for the wine sector to the province to eliminate that 6.1% tax on domestic wine. This is an antiquated law that needs to be addressed and to keep the industry competitive. This law goes back to I believe it's when, what do they call it, prohibition was so, you know, and it's in all wine that comes out in from imported wine is not subject to this tax. So it makes it very the playing field is not very level. So I think it's something that we continue to work on and is important for Niagara. So then this afternoon or this morning, I attended the Waste Management Planning Steering Committee. And so we were kind of given a quick overview Niagara Region's basically operation of 2020. So our basically our MRF, our municipal recycling facility, processed just over 70,000 tons of material, and we composted 58,000 tons of residential organic waste in 2020, and we disposed of 118,000 tons of household waste. So just to kind of give you an idea of the type of the quantity of material that's generated from our households. So with this new collection contract and contractors, we again are receiving high level of service to our residents, and we are obviously helping in diverting organics and recycling out of our landfill. So this is a meeting that at this meeting we're surpassing the change to every other week garbage collection, and we're meeting those targets. So as we move forward and in this contract, Niagara Region will be enhancing its illegal dumping and anti-litter campaign. As we know, we have our challenges here in our rural communities, and we need to be diligent in reporting these types of incidents so that they can be recorded and tracked so that proper enforcement can be applied. So again, thank you for having me present the update. If there's any questions, I will answer them.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Witteveen. Any comments or questions for our regional councillor? Great, and thank you very much, Councillor Witteveen. You give a thorough report of the dealings of the region, and I really appreciate it as well. Moving on, we have council minutes regular for January 25th. Councillor Gannon, you have that resolution.
Spacebar didn't work. Sorry about that. Moved by myself that the minutes of the January 25th, 2021 regular council meeting be accepted.
Great. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Jonker, thank you very much. Any comments or questions about the council minutes regular? Seeing none, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Support.
And that's carried. And then we have public meetings under the Planning Act. I think Councillor Jonker, you have that resolution, please. Go ahead.
I do. Moved by myself that the minutes of the public meeting held on February 8th, 2021, under Section 34 of the Planning Act with respect to A, zoning bylaw amendment, Kenneth Martin, 6800 Elko Road, file number 1601-001-21, and B, zoning bylaw amendment, Kathy and William Vitucci, 5291 Regional Road 20, file number 1601-002-21 be accepted.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I get a seconder for that? And I've got Councillor Trombetta. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Support.
And that's carried. Thank you very much. There are no communications, so we move on to mayor's remarks, and I just have two comments that I'd like to enter into the record. And the first is on the 18th of February, we were able to enjoy our virtual AGM of the Chamber, West Lincoln Chamber of Commerce. It was well attended. I think at one point there were about 35 screens on the screen, and so it was very well attended for a virtual meeting. Highlights include the passing of the torch from Mr. Rob Wood, who's been the president now for 4 years, I believe, and he passed it on to Paul Robertson, who was sworn in, and Survey. Help me out there, Councillor Gannon. Elizabeth Survey, who became the vice president of the chamber. And Denise Potter, who's the executive director, gave an overview of what's happened in 2020. Obviously, COVID entered in once again, and butted in and took control of the great quantity of the operations and lack thereof. And yet, Lord, there was a positive ring to 2020. Probably most concerning is the small businesses of our community, but the chambers working together in concert with our own municipality on some initiatives, the Buy Local initiative, as some of you may have seen in the papers or in social media, and then we had a presentation by our own CAO, Bev Hendry, who basically put forward a presentation on our own economic development here at the township, and did so in concert with Linda Sicoli from the region. And so we were able to enjoy kind of a robust evening. Obviously, everybody likes the networking and the social elements of our AGM, but it was a good meeting nonetheless. So I'm thankful for that. And then on the 20th, coldest night of the year, something that our municipality has entered in on at various times. And I know some of the councillor, I know at least Councillor Ganan sported the toque. You can see the bright blue toque behind me here, this year's installment. So I've got a 4-year collection there that I'm getting more and more proud of. But did so with a few of my children walking the Bruce Trail. This year, everything was kind of done a little bit ad hoc. People could find their own route, and they used a bit of an honor system. But what I'm pleased to really say is they exceeded their goal by, I think, 144%. If I look today, I think it was $71,000 were raised. The team that I did walk on this year wasn't the West Lincoln Council team, but it was the one for my church. And so just a plug for my own church. We came in 4th this year for fundraising efforts. But all in all, it was a very successful fundraiser. And it just speaks once again to the generosity of our community in the good times, whether it's West Lincoln Community Care or the Gleaners, or the coldest night of the year. It doesn't matter what the charity is or the fundraising drive. This community is exceeding expectations on all fronts, and so I'm very proud of the community, and I'm sure you councillors are all proud of your community as well. We're a very generous community, hardworking, committed, and determined to press on even in the midst of COVID, finding creative solutions to our charity needs. So those 2 items I wanted to enter in there. I don't know if there's any questions from anyone. I saw Councillor Rayner. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With regards to your first comment on the chair, you said Mr. Paul Robertson was president?
Yes, I did.
Is that the infamous, famous
No,
gentleman from the Gypsy Moth Hall of Fame?
No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
There's another Paul Robertson, is there?
I'm going to go on a limb and suggest that there's a few of them, but this is Paul Robertson of the Employment Center, a longtime chamber member and works at the Employment Center here in town. So he was formerly the vice president under Rob Wood. He moves up, and Elizabeth Serby comes in as the chair. So thank you to our own Cheryl Ganan and Harold Jonker, who sit as directors on that board and represent council there. And again, also thanks to our Madam CAO, who made that presentation, and it was well received. Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I was able to attend as well. And I just wanted to say that you did a great job swearing in the president and vice presidents there. For those who don't, pardon me?
I had a script.
Oh, I figured as much, but still, it's still a big responsibility. I just wanted to mention a couple of things. One, you brought up the West Niagara coldest night of the year, and so you are right. It's 147% is the goal they hit, and now it's just about $73,487 over their $50,000 goal. And then the other thing I was going to mention, and probably kind of unorthodox to bring it up here, but you mentioned about the nostalgia, going back to the school presentation we had tonight, and about hoping they bring some of that heritage over from all the schools there, and I hope so too. I know I went to Grimsby Secondary School, and as a gold medalist myself, I know they have a few of my awards on the wall as well that I hope that doesn't get lost in translation. So I can totally relate to that sentiment, as well as the hopefully they can keep some of that history between all three municipalities in their schools. So anyways, I thought that was worth noting. So
Okay. Thank you. Then I'd like to move on, if I could, to reports of committee. And the first one is Planning, Building, Environmental Committee. And Councillor Riley, you have that resolution.
I do. So hold on just one second. Okay. Moved by myself that the minutes of the February 8th, 2021 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting be accepted and the recommendations contained therein be approved with the exception of, and currently there are none.
Are there any exceptions, any comments, questions? Oh, first of all, can I get a seconder? Councillor Gannon. Any comments, questions? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Support.
And that's carried. Thank you very much. And then we move on to Admin, Finance, Fire. Councillor Trombetta, you have that resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself that the minutes of the Administration, Fire and Finance Committee held on February 16th, 2021 be accepted and that the recommendations contained therein be approved with the exception of.
Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Riley, thank you very much. Any comments or questions on Admin, Fire, Finance? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Support.
And that's carried. Thank you very much. And moving on to Public Works, Rec, and Arena. Councillor Jonker, you have that resolution.
I do. Moved by myself that the minutes of the Public Works, Recreation, Arena Committee meeting held on February 16th, 2021 be accepted and that the recommendations contained therein be approved with the exceptions of items, and I see none.
Can I get a seconder? Councillor Bradrick, thank you very much. And any comments or questions or items to be pulled? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Support.
And that's carried. Thank you very much. We have the definition for reconsideration and motion, notice of motion to rescind. And so we move on to other business. Councillor remarks. Do any members of council have any new remarks that have not already been stated? Councillor Gannon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say that years ago, we used to have a Citizen of the Year and that kind of recognition when we were a much smaller community. We don't have that anymore, but we have Community Cares AGM coming up. And in pulling that together as the AGM secretary, I came across, again, the opportunity to recognize our volunteers. And I thought it was worthy of noting tonight that Janet Zanting, who some of you know, has reached, as of 2020, the 35-year mark of volunteering with West Lincoln Community Care. She was in at the very beginning. And Margaret Merritt, another long-time West Lincoln resident, has reached the point of 30 years. And I just thought that that was worthy of the rest of council knowing as well. And hopefully you can help share that in the public. I think that we just don't often recognize the people as much. And 30 and 35 years are pretty remarkable. So
Very special. Yeah, very special. Thank you for that, Councillor Gannon. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess maybe just to, backpack a little bit on Councillor Gannon's request. I don't know if this at all would be possible or if this is something you can consider, but maybe in some way, shape, or form, you could even reach out to them and wish them many thanks on behalf of council in some capacity. I think, that kind of commitment to our community deserves maybe more than just a mention within our meeting. So again, obviously that's up to you, but I just thought that might be worth noting. As well, I wanted to...
It was a note. I just wanted to say I wrote a note, so I'm on it.
Awesome. Thank you. The other thing I was going to mention just real briefly is kind of reflect over the month. At the beginning of the month there, Councillor Trombetta and Councillor Bradrick and I did a community Zoom and just thought we would report a tiny little bit about it. It was, pretty good turnout and a lot of good feedback from the public. And I hope that we can do more of these or find our own way to reach out and engage with the community because they certainly appreciate having that opportunity. And so however people want to do it, obviously, it's up to you how you feel comfortable doing it. But I definitely thought it was worth worth noting that it was really well received. I know Councillor Ganan and I have another one this Thursday, or not so much another one. I'm doing one with Councillor Ganan, and the community really, you know, they really appreciate having that opportunity to speak to us, given the current day and age that we're living through and all the hurdles that come from. But I just thought I would share that, you know, in each of our exchanges, Mr. Mayor, I've done one with you, I've done one with Councillor Wedevine. They've always been positive, so I just thought it was worth noting that the community truly appreciates it, and we'll just keep doing what we can do to, you know, have their voice heard and be there for them. So anyways, that's all I wanted to mention.
Okay, any other councillors? Councillor Jonker, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I would just like to thank you for making yourself available for the AGM meeting and for reporting on it. I have been enjoying the weather lately, and the trucking company has been a little bit behind scheduling things, so I've been traveling on the road and I've been missing my commitments, and that was one of them there. I was hoping to meet in Pittsburgh on a Zoom there, but by the time we got there, it didn't work out. So, but I appreciate you reporting on that and saving me asking you to do that. So thanks for being there as well. So yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Okay, any others? All right, new items of business. Are there any new items of business that require immediate attention or direction? I see none, Madam Clerk. So we're going to go to bylaws. Councillor Rayner, you have the resolution for bylaws.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself that leave be granted to introduce bylaws 2021-13, 2021-14, 2021-15, 2021-16, and 2021-17, and that the same shall be considered to have been read a first, second, third, fourth, and fifth time with one reading, and are hereby adopted, and that the mayor and clerk being hereby authorized to sign and affix the corporate seal thereto. Any rule of this council to the contrary is notwithstanding.
And so with the exception of the fourth, fifth, and sixth reading, can I get a seconder? Yeah, Councillor Jonker, any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Work.
And that's carried. Okay, now we move into confidential. Councillor Bradrick, you have the resolution for moving into confidential.
Moved by myself, Shelley Bradrick, that the next portion of this meeting be closed to the public to consider the following pursuant to section 239 2 of the Municipal Act 2001. Do I read the remaining part as well too?
Yes, you.
Sorry, CAO Bev Hendry, re personal matters relating to an identifiable individual performance review, applicable closed session exemption, personal matters about identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees.
Okay, can I get a seconder for that? Councillor Jonker, any comments or questions? Then I'm going to call the question to move into close. All those in favor?
Work.
And that is carried. So I'm going to read this. We will now be going into closed session. So I would ask everyone to leave this Zoom meeting, go back to your email. You should find one there from Roberta already waiting for you to go into a secure closed session Zoom meeting. And then we'll reconvene over there shortly. All right. Okay, there's Councillor Ganan. Councillor Jonker, you have the resolution to come out of closed. I think you do. It says Councillor Jonker. If I might put words in your mouth, if you would like to move the following motion, that this council meeting does now resume in open session at the hour of 10 o'clock. If you would move that, okay, can I get a seconder? Councillor Trombetta, any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried. We are now in open session. Councillor Ganan, you have a resolution.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself that the CAO's report regarding her accomplishments for the year 2020 as part of her performance review be received for information.
Can I get a seconder? Councillor Bradrick, thank you very much. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that is carried. And I thank you for this evening. I declare the meeting adjourned at the hour of 10:01. Thank you, and thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Have a good night.